Hey, Bass Fishing Session here. We're on the way to Suffern, New York for the World Fishing Expo. Little winter weather that we're going to deal with, but we're going to get there eventually. Drive safe and see you there.
No way one of those bass in that tank is going to try to eat that thing. But I'll tell you guys why. Alright, let's get started. Thank you guys for coming out. My name is Brandon Palaniuk. Fish on the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour. Spent the last 8 years fishing on the Bassmaster Elite Series. Was fortunate enough to win 3 of those and then win Angler of the Year in 2017. I grew up fishing in northern Idaho, which is clear water, a lot of mountain lakes, but we've got a lot of natural lakes as well with shallow grass and vegetation. But I was fortunate enough being on the West Coast that very early on in my career, or it wasn't even a career at that point, I was just a fisherman. I was just a kid fishing at home. But I got introduced to big swim baits. That it kind of started on the West Coast and then has moved its way throughout the US. And so I gained a lot of confidence in throwing big swim baits and saw a lot of really cool things happen with those big swim baits. And I fell in love with them. And I tell people all the time, I make a living fishing bass tournaments, but my hobby is throwing big swim baits. It's what I love to do in my free time. People ask all the time, well, what do you do when you're not fishing tournaments? Well, I go fishing, and I throw big swim baits. Okay? It's what I like to do for fun, and it's mostly because of the way that fish react to a swim bait. Okay? They have what we call draw power, and I'll show you what I mean by that as I demonstrate it in this tank. And then I'll go through and I'll kind of explain why this is my favorite one. I'll give you guys a little background on this. I spent the last 3 years designing this bait. Literally 3 years to get this thing to be able to do what I wanted it to do. I didn't anticipate it taking that long. You know, I really would have liked to have had it out 2 years ago when the swim bait craze was really starting to take off. But the big thing for me was that I wanted to make sure that this bait was super easy for everybody to fish, and it was affordable for everyone to fish. Now, how many people have fished a glide bait in here? Actually, I'm fairly impressed. A lot more people than I thought. Okay? So, for everybody that has never fished one, I wanted them to be able to take this bait out there and gain confidence in it, or at least be able to fish it correctly, that you should get bit. If you're just not around fish, I can't help you with that. I can try to help you, but you still have to put yourself around fish. I can only help you figure out how to throw the bait or come up with a bait that'll help you catch those fish. And so I wanted it to be easy to use, but I also wanted it to appeal to the hardcore swim bait guys. Like, there's this whole underground swim bait world that exists that if you haven't dove into it, you just don't know it's there. If you've dove into it, you've sat there for hours and hours and hours and watched videos and like researched and all that. There's all these handmade baits and everything. I wanted this to be able to compete with those $100 plus baits. I've got it held crossbody. Okay, so what I mean by that is if I hold my rod in my left hand, I don't want it on this side of my body. I want the butt of that rod tucked in, and I want it slightly off to my right side. Okay, because I'm gonna have the most power with this bait. I probably shouldn't set it in the carpet. I'm gonna have the most power when I set the hook at crossbody. Okay, I do what is called, like, it makes an S. When you bow up, your rod's bent this way, your body's bent back this way. Okay, I'm bowed up on my tippy toes. It makes a big S. Now if you try to set the hook this way, I don't have nearly as much power in my arm going this way, right? It's all in my arm. And and I don't lift enough weights to have enough power to set the hook on a 10 or 12 pounder this way. But I can use my whole body, plus my arm, my hips, and my legs to set the hook this way. You guys are thinking, really, you need to use your legs to set the hook on a bass? Yes, you do. Okay, just trust me.
I don't want to spend the time to get seasick and try to tie this knot while I'm staring at it. But besides that, it's true. Besides that, through the course of the day, I need to manage my time as fast as possible. So if I have a really long leader like this, it's going to save me a lot of time because I'm only tying one knot. You know, the Palomar, which is usually 2 seconds. Besides that, so on our river system, man, this is usually my gem right here. I always drop shot. This exact worm, this is the same worm I throw on all rivers. So a lot of times on rivers, what do you got? You got barnacles, you got all your dock pongs, you got all that stuff. So we all know braid's not real good when it comes to sharp rocky objects. No good. You know, it cuts like nothing. It's nylon. But the fluorocarbon, if I was to throw into a dock and I get a really big bass on and I got all that fluoro, that's going to give me a lot of power to where if that fish actually starts to, overpower me a little bit and starts to pull all that fluorocarbon, I'm still protected because I got a lot of fluoro that's rubbing on them filings. So just simple little tiny things that make a big difference.